What up, YouTube? So, the Thrashin risers, bars, perch clamps, and the adapter plate for the Road Glide is currently on a FedEx truck, and it will be at my house today at some point. So we are going to be, or I'm going to be filming myself doing the bar swap. I've never filmed an install video before, so it was probably going to be a little rough. But you'll see the step-by-step process of putting T-bars on a Rushmore Road Glide. To be more specific, this is the 2023 Road Glide ST, dubbed Sharkbait. It's a little dirty right now, but it's going to be good. Let's get into it. So, the first step is going to be removing the gauge bezel, right? So as you can see, there's a T25 here, and there is a T25 on the other side. Once you pop those off, this thing can lift up, and you can access the plugs under here, unplug everything. So let's do that real quick. Need a socket. My toolbox is extremely disorganized right now. It's a T30. I don't want a T30. That's a T20. I'm going to pull it off, and I'll show you what's the next step. Step one is to remove this thing right here. You just pull up on it like that, and it comes right out. Just pull these off, just like this. Save all your hardware, guys. Save all the hardware. Never throw anything away until you've ridden 100 miles with the new part. Once you have the gauge bezel off, you can see all those plugins and that. So the one to do right now is going to be this cluster, that cluster, and this. All those bus connections need to get unplugged. Before we get too crazy, I'm going to put a towel on my gas tank and dash to prevent any scratches, because I'm a ditz. It's going to happen. Much better. That way you don't scratch your paint, you know? You paid a lot of money for this bike. It would suck to do something stupid and, you know, drop a socket on a fender like I did with my 2020. Little tiny screwdriver helps with bus connections. Okay, now we have the gauge cluster. This is going to have to get modified. I don't know why I used the camera hand to show that, because now you can't see it. So the Thrashin Supply Road Glide riser adapter comes with a sticker. It's kind of like a template that you lay across this, and it shows exactly where to cut it. So that way your risers, your dogs, can come straight through it. That requires the use of a hole saw, of which I do not own. But I do own a normal saw that I think I'll be able to drill out. Maybe even Dan the neighbor man's got a hole saw I can borrow. That, or I can always run to the store. But next step is, now that you have that off, we want to remove the bars. That requires unplugging all of the wired connections from this little trim piece here, as well as removing the perch clamps and the controls off of the bars, right? So that includes the hydraulic brakes and the cable clutch. So let's get after it. So I got these ones unplugged. I ain't got to get to these ones back here. So we'll get to it. I think that's all she wrote. So I'm pretty sure that's all the things that are coming out of that section of bars. So now we need to worry about the controls. We need to separate those. This one you need to pay extra attention to. We don't want any fluid to leak out of the hydraulics. So when you separate this, you want to lay it gently on the tank in an upright position. Yeah, T27. It's also particularly important not to undersize your Torx head. You can strip the bolt itself or your bit. Hopefully it's the bit, not the bolt. Another pro tip, once you break torque on these, remove the actual bit itself and do it by hand. That way you don't have to be all the way out here cranking on it. You can kind of get closer to the work and hold on to it. Okay, now that we got the controls off, now we can work on the handlebars. Actually getting the top clamp pulled off, separate the handlebars completely. Always keep a hand on the bars when you're doing this, because you never know when it's gonna relieve enough tension for the whole bars to roll, and that can scratch or chip something. See that? That's the hard part. Now, when we get the new pipe or the new bars, I can fish out the cabling from this. I'm probably actually going to do that before. And then when I get the new bars in, I can lay these on a towel, or the new bars on a towel, and fish the new or the existing cables through the new bars. Then we just need to figure out, we got to get this off, which you have to access from underneath in this area, because the clamp actually replaces this. Let's get to it. Hope you guys can see. It'd be a lot easier if this was off. Oh, hell yeah. Got it. So what you have to do in order to reach the bottom of this lower bar clamp is you got to crank the wheel. So that way the head of the bolt that is securing this on actually frees up from this little plate down here. There's a little plate down here, right here. You got to clear that, then you can get a socket on it. Now I know. I don't know where my extensions are. This is what I get for having a disorganized garage. It's my own fault, really. Yep. Got the extension, huh? I got it. this way. If I had a wobble, that's a little more. Ooh. See? Towel. Towel's good. Honestly, when I go to put the new ones on, I'm not going to need that smaller extension on top of the tall one. And now, I just found one more little thing that needs to get disconnected. This is the ground. This is a ground for your handlebars electronics. You don't need that anymore with Thrashin setup because it's going to be solid metal on metal contact. In fact, you have to remove your riser bushings in order to do this. So, we're getting it. Ground no longer needed. Okay, guys. I think that's the hard part. Other than cutting the gauge bezel to the proper, outside of cutting this so that the risers come out, which I don't think I need I think I'm going to be able to get away with using like a normal little hacksaw. I might be able to do that. I might Google some stuff. So we're at this stage. Need to get these bushings out of here, which isn't hard to do if you have a mallet and a 3/4 inch socket. It's supposed to be able to fit right on there and you can press them right out. Yeah, it's exciting. We're moving right along. Can't wait for the bars to get here. So it's going to be a few hours for me, but it'll just be a moment for you. We'll be right back. Okay, kids. It's Christmas morning. So as you can see, I've already done the cutout where the risers are going to go. It's not the cleanest, but I did the best I could. It comes with a like a template sticker that you lay across it. And what I found was easiest is you take a hole saw bit and give yourself a nice big hole to start with, and then you can use a coping saw. And then you feed that coping saw blade inside of it and you can get right up to the line. Then you can kind of sand it down and make it look good. So hopefully that is good to go now. And now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be installing the Thrashin Supply 6.5 pullback risers onto the adapter plate for the Road Glide, which is pretty simple. Should be. So what we're going to do, we're going to put you right there. Because I don't have a tripod yet, you know? I really don't. I wish I did. But I don't have one yet. And I have watched the Thrashin Supply video of when they do this and how they do it. They sure have done a much better job of explaining this. But you put the top clamp on first. That keeps your risers lined up because they're not cylindrical. So I'm very happy that I was able to say that word properly. Cylindrical. They said make sure you get the left and right riser proper. I don't know how you mess that up, because the shape of it is very specific. I also had to go to, oh shit, almost fell. I also had to go to Harbor Freight and pick up some extra bits and bobs, if you will. Like a new 1/4 inch drive. Okay. So once you got your risers kind of put together like this, you want to, where did my Loctite go? There it is. You're going to want to install them on this. And when you do that, you're going to want to Loctite them now, because once this is installed, it's never coming off again, unless you want it to. Is to put this through that first, and then this through this. So, after many trial and errors, I was able to fit the risers into the existing gauge cluster. So that is what it's going to look like when it's all put together, just like that. And you want to make sure that those bolts are in there before you start, because you're not going to have access to them after you do that. So now the next step is to put this on that. And when you do that, you want to ensure that you are utilizing the spacers. The spacers sleeve over those bolts on top of your tree. There is no way in hell I can film that, so see you in a second. Okay, so last you guys saw me, I was trying to finagle the gauge bezel and the risers, the Thrashin risers that come up in between the gauge bezel. So I was using coping saw, trimming a little bit. Then I was able to get the adapter plate underneath it, bolts into it. I didn't break anything. I don't think. No, I didn't break anything. But there was no conceivable way that I was going to be able to film and do the next part, because I basically did it by myself. I had my oldest daughter, Marley. She helped me out by holding the bars in a little bit of a way, but there was no way I was going to be able to have a camera, manage talking to the camera, talking to her, and doing it at the same time, especially since this is the first time I've worked on a road glide. At least first time I've put T-bars on a road glide. This is like I've done 10 or 11 different handlebar jobs, but first time doing T-bars on a road glide. So I just did it, but I'll walk you through what I did. So here's the finished product. I did the Thrashin high bend stainless bars because it's going to be matching the exhaust that I ordered. That is going to be the next install video. Look at that. It's beautiful. Love it. It's way more comfortable. It's way more aggressive. I really like the rider position that it puts me in. I am thinking about switching the mirrors from the top to the bottom. I still have that on the electric glide. I just prefer that. It looks a lot cleaner. I like it a lot. So I'm thinking about doing that. But to go through the parts that I have on here now, I have the 6.5 inch pullback Thrashin Supply risers. Then I have the Thrashin Supply high bend bar in stainless. I then have the twice cut Thrashin Supply perch clamps, because you can't use the stock clamps because these are way too long. See what I mean? It just wasn't going to work. Plus there's this little pin in here that was going to prevent it. Any hoosers. And then I did the Thrashin Supply black grips, which are super badass. So, yeah. All in all, the install took me about 4 hours. A lot of it was cutting the gauge bezel. That is a big pain in the ass. Had I had known how big of a pain in the ass it was to cut the gauge bezel with a coping saw and a hole saw, I don't know, I was so paranoid about messing that part up. But had I had known, I would have just ordered the tree, the top tree, and the gauge relocation kit. I wouldn't have messed with any of it. But all in all, I think it turned out pretty clean. You know, you can kind of see where cut a little bit too much here, maybe not enough there. But all in all, it's pretty clean. Okay, so I got my daughter holding the camera. She's gonna show, I am 5'9", 180 pounds, normal reach. I don't have short little T-Rex arms and I'm not scraping the floor. Okay, so normal reach, average sized male, slightly above average. Okay, so this is what the stock cables and connections, the wiring, this is the stance that this bike puts me in, just right here. This is the 6.5-inch pullback risers with the high bend bar. Everything's stock. Stock cables, I didn't have to extend a single thing, but I did have to reroute the clutch cable. That was a bit of a pain in the ass. My daughter Marley helped me out with that, but that was the only thing that we had to adjust on the fly. Everything else was plug and play, super easy, super simple. So as you see, this is hands slightly below shoulder height. I'm sitting upright. It's absolutely perfect. These are 30-inch bars width, so very standard for Harley-Davidson. Everything works. Yeah, so now you guys kind of know that if you want to put T-bars on a Rushmore Road Glide, you don't have to extend cables. If you're my height or this style and this look is kind of what you're after. So here is what it's going to look like for the rider. Just like that. And where I'm sitting, I can basically see the gauges, at least the important parts of the gauges, which I think, and Lance talks about this on the website, but I think that's perfect. I can see from about 500 or 5 miles an hour to about 110 miles an hour, and I can see 1,000 on the tack to about 60. No, I can see all the way to 8 because it's on this side. So you have full use of your gauges, realistically speaking, because my head's actually kind of a little bit up here. So I can still see my gauges with the 6.5 pullback and the high bend bars. I still have full use of my media center, obviously. Yeah, the only thing that I found was a pain in the ass, like I said, was cutting that bevel. But it turned out okay. It wasn't, like I said, right here, I cut too much off. But right there actually looks kind of perfect. But right there, I cut a little bit too much off. But that's okay. If you guys are looking to do T-bars on your Road Glide, I highly suggest. You don't have to go with Thrashin, but I would, because I just think their parts are awesome. I did. But I definitely think that if you guys aren't going to replace your top tree, to do a lower pullback riser and a higher bend bar to get the height out of it. It's just super easy. And obviously routing cables through a motocross style bar like this is super simple. I didn't need to lube anything. I didn't need a pull string. I just pushed the wires right through and it came right out. Too easy. But yeah, so that's the positioning right there. It's perfect. Sorry I didn't film that part of it. The part where my daughter's up here with the towel on the gas tank holding the handlebar as I'm underneath it trying to get the bottom of the bushing nut onto the bolt that's through the adapter plate. There was no way I was going to be able to film that effectively while doing it as the only tax-paying adult in the household. Had my wife been here, I would have had her film me and or help me and my daughter film me, and that would have worked out real good. But yeah, like I said, that's the first install. It was starting out as a how-to video, but there at the end, it just kind of, there was no way I was going to be able to film. So that's the second modification done to the bike. As you can see, I also pulled off the saddleman that came on the Road Glide, put it on the Electra Glide, and I put my Lapera kickflip back on, or on the Road Glide. I just prefer that. I much prefer that for long distances. Next thing up is the exhaust. It's going to match the handlebars. That's all I'm going to say for now. But it is a stainless 2-in-1. I was going to go Sawicki, but all the photos that I could find of Sawicki, it just looked too short. on the side of the bike. It looked off. So I went with a different company. You guys will see it soon. Today is what's today? Saturday? Today is Saturday. But my exhaust pipe should be here on Monday, so the following weekend, so the video after this one, I will be doing an install video of that, which that is going to be super simple because I'll just be able to basically put my camera right there and aim it right there and do the whole thing in front of you. And you'll be able to see everything, right? So that one will be a good video. Let me know what you guys think of the bike so far. Thank you guys for tuning in. You guys are amazing. Sorry I couldn't film everything. Like I said, I'm a one-man show here. So really appreciate you tuning in, checking out my video. Stay tuned for more Project Sharkbait.